CME solar wind very well, thanks to Professor Ambastha and other faculty in solar physics like Antia. So they have introduced the subject. So what I am going to do is quickly give an overview of the CME and how it affects the Earth. So I will not go to very details of any like a description which I have put in my slide, but I would just try to give a simple overview. So the outline of my talk would be a brief introduction on CME and its properties, and then the motivation behind the study of CME, and then the observations available to study CME, and what different scenarios are there when CME propagations are affected. So then I will give a conclusion. So to give a completeness of the picture, the sun, we all know that have different layer, and the magnetic field is generated at the bottom of the convection zone, that is called tachocline. And from there, we can see that different magnetic phenomena we can see in the upper atmosphere in like corona, the magnetic structures and such. And there are many type of stability which give rise to coronal mass ejections. So coronal mass ejections are basically a huge expulsions of magnetized plasma from the sun, and when it propagates in the heliosphere and if it arrives to close to the earth, it disturbs the earth magnetic field, and therefore it is very important to study CME. We can see that when CME arriving to the earth, it is breaking the earth's magnetic sphere, and then this phenomena is called the magnetic reconnection. There are certain conditions. When those conditions are met, such reconnections at the day side of the earth's magnetosphere takes place, and CME energy enters into the magnetosphere and give rise to several space weather events called geomagnetic storms. And sometimes we also see the aurora in the polar region of the earth. Such CME was first imaged by from a space chronograph in 1971, and since then we have series of missions which have observed such coronal mass ejections. Similar to coronal mass ejections, there are continuous mass loss from the sun, and that is due to solar wind. Such solar winds are a flow of plasma from the sun, and the one hypothesis by Parker was made in 1958 that solar wind must exist on the sun because of high temperature of the corona. However, there were indirect inferences that solar wind is coming from the sun because of the comet dust tail. We can see in the left side of the picture when comet enters into the inner solar system, it forms a gas and dust tail. These two tails are due to different phenomena because like solar radiation ionizes the comet's material, which is the volatile material, and then they move away. And then we have the dust tail. So although the Parker had hypothesized this solar wind, but the first confirmation was made by Luna 1 spacecraft in 1960. And since then we have series of missions. Recently, the bottom picture is from NASA Parker Solar Probe. We can see that solar wind can be imaged very nicely. And in the right side top panel is a modeling effort to show the solar wind coming out from the sun. So as I described that CMEs are very important as they affect the Earth's magnetosphere. One typical example of disturbances in the Earth's magnetosphere is the geomagnetic storm. In the bottom panel, we can see that on the y-axis of the graph, there is CMH index. CMH index is it measures the horizontal components of Earth's magnetic field. So we can see that when such CME arrives to the Earth, there is a
Sorry,
strong decrease in
sorry,
the.
may I interrupt?
Hello.
We can't see the graphs here.
Okay. Can you see the bottom? Can you see?
For me, it's just sun and it's corona. That's what.
Oh, so the slide is not changing, I think. Can you see the solar wind slide?
No, it's just
Oh,
sun and it's corona. Can
okay.
somebody confirm that it's the same for everyone?
Yes, yes. It's not changing.
Oh, sorry. So what should I do? Let me share again. Is this shared now? Can anyone confirm that my slide is shared?
It's not yet come.
It's coming.
Is it this okay? Solar terrestrial relationship.
No, it has not yet come. It says it has started screen sharing, but
Okay. So I think there is some problem with this. Let me.
probably waiting for a minute might solve it.
Okay. It should not take a long time. What is the issue?
Yes, it has come now.
It has come.
Yes, solar terrestrial relationship.
Okay.
That slide is.
So is this okay?
Yes, now it's fine.
So in the bottom panel, what I show here is the CMH index. I think is it visible, right?
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay. So in CMH index, what we see that CMH index measures the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. So we can see that when such CME arrives at the Earth, it gives rise to strong decrease in the Earth's magnetic field. And this is the perturbation a CME can cause. And there was this event in 1989 in March that actually caused the serious power breakdown in Canada. Because such effects are more crucial to be seen in the polar region of the Earth's magnetosphere, from where the energy inputs can be like easily. So we can see that when disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field takes place, there would be an induced current in the power grid system, and then that can lead to even loss in the electricity transformer power grids, and that can also disrupt various radio propagation system, because we have a critical frequency from in the ionosphere from where we generally have the radio wave propagation. So such CME can give rise to strong space weather events. When I say space weather events, it refers to any perturbation in the near Earth's atmosphere and magnetosphere that can give rise to phenomena which can disrupt technological system in space, even underground. So CME can be observed in several ways. One typical observation is the white light observation, in which a CME is seen in white light that is scattered from the electron in the CME material. And due to such Thomson scattering, any CME can be imaged. So series of observations from NASA OSO 7, the discovery was made of CME. Since then, we have series of instruments, and they have continuously observing CME in the white light. Other set of observation is the interplanetary scintillation observations. If we have on the ground like radio receiver, and if we observe some radio source, then if a CME comes from the sun and it arrives between sun and earth, when we observe the radio source, we will find that intensity coming from the radio source would be like irregular because of a constructive and destructive interference on the ground, which we can observe. And such amplitude variation received at the earth makes sure that there is some plasma irregularity between sun and earth. And in this way, we can know the CME material between and its speed. Other set of observation is the in situ observations. If we have a spacecraft in the path of CME, so if we have proper detectors on those spacecraft, the plasma materials inside the CME like magnetic field density, temperature, and speed can be easily measured. Problems arise when we have only one spacecraft, whether it be remote observations or in situ observations. We will have only a localized picture of a large structure, which is CME. Like in the right side of a figure, we can see that if we have one spacecraft and it makes a trajectory through the CME, it measures certain properties of CME. Like here, if we see, if a spacecraft intersect the CME from left side, so we can see that only it will observe a shock ahead of a CME. But if it observes from the front, we will have the shock, which is irregularity ahead of the CME due to its fast speed. And then we have sheath structure and magnetic cloud. So point here is that one point measurement, whether it be remote observations in white light or be it in situ observations, cannot give a global picture of ICME. So there are efforts being made to know how the multi-point observations of the same plasma structure can help. Based on previous studies, some properties of CME are made, and these are like there are occurrence rate of CME around 5 to 1, 5 in the solar maxima and 1 during solar minima per day. When I say solar maxima, it is like the sun is in its maximum activity phase, which repeats after each 11 years. And each CME have different angular widths, but the average angular width of the CME is around 70 degrees. And its speed can range from 50 to 2000 kilometers per second with a huge mass of like 10 to the power 15 gram. So the problem is that we are observing these all properties are derived from the plane of sky projected observations, because when we image a CME, what we basically do is we observe the CME in a projected like plane of sky, and that makes these parameters very dependent on observations, and therefore we need multi-point observations. So the point is why we need to focus this much on CME. From science perspective, it is important to study CME because we can study how a magnetized structure moves, what are the forces acting on it, and then as I described that there are solar wind continuously coming from the sun. So when a CME moves, it basically moves in the medium called solar wind. So the interaction between CME and solar wind can be understood, and also one can study the turbulent nature of medium solar wind if we study what are the forces acting between CME and solar wind. From application point of view, such CMEs are responsible for space weather events, and therefore it must be studied and its prediction at 1 AU should be made. In long run, if we study the space weather, we can try to see how the space climate changes over temporal and spatial scale. So I will try to give a status what is the research. Actually, in the CME research was revolutionized because of launch of stereo mission by NASA in 2006, late 2006. So it started giving observation from 2007. Before that, we had a mission called SOHO-LASCO. So Solar Orbiter Heliospheric Observatory by NASA launched in 1995. So what was basically it was doing? It was inserted in the L1 point, at L1 point near the Earth, and it was continuously measuring the CME on the sun. The limitation was that it was located at one point, so any observation it made was plane of sky projection, and then the field of view of the SOHO spacecraft was limited to only 30 solar radii. And then we had another in situ instruments like ACE and WIND close to the Earth, which used to sample CME when they arrived close to the Earth. So what was missing, that the how CME propagate between sun beyond 30 solar radii and before reaching to Earth. So to fill this large gap, people try to use some model like drag-based model or some magnetohydrodynamic model, and therefore it was difficult to observe. Actual observation was missing how the CME is moving between the sun and Earth. Then from the remote observations, people like OT radio telescope observations, it has also been studied that CME kinematics change over its journey. When CME is launched from the sun, it has different speed, and when it arrives to the Earth, it has different speed. So certainly there are forces acting on the CME, and one need to identify the forces, whether it is Lagrange force or drag force, or which are dominant at what distance should be studied properly. In the graph, we can see that high-speed CME is decelerating during its propagation towards the sun-earth line, and slow-speed CME are accelerating. And therefore, it appears that there is a drag force between solar wind and CME. So the medium is acting as a drag on the CME. And this was also confirmed by the OT radio telescope observation from like radio scintillation observation, as I described before. So our present understanding is that CME had three-phase propagation. One, in the beginning, CME slowly rise from the sun, and then it has a very impulsive acceleration phase in inner corona, within 3 solar radii, and then it propagates almost with a constant speed, and that is called propagation phase. In that phase, CME has strong acceleration, very slow acceleration or deceleration. This has also been confirmed from recent observations. We can see that in the beginning, CME has a very high impulsive acceleration. In the top panel, we can see, and then after that, it has a slow deceleration and nearly constant speed. So, as I described that there was a revolution in CME research in 2007 when stereo started giving observation. The most important point of stereo observation is that it filled the gap between sun and Earth. And we can see that any CME can be studied from its birth in the corona near the sun to continuous up to Earth or even beyond. So stereo has several instruments like core 1, core 2, HI1 and HI2. So we can see that different field of view and they can actually capture up to 330 solar radii, and Earth is located only up to 215 solar radii. The another most important point is that the HI1 and HI2 instrument on board stereo always observe the region in the sun earth line. So this mission is actually focused on looking earth directed CMEs. We can see that the intensity of planets and HI1 instrument, we can see that these instruments are very sensitive, and therefore it can, if in the graph we see the CME intensity goes up to 10 to the power minus 14, while the background corona is up to 10 to the power minus 12, and even the stars intensity is much higher, like 10 to the power minus 11. So what it means that these instruments are very sophisticated, and that's why they can look any CME particles even much further away from the sun. And it is easy to track if we use these observations from heliospheric imager 1 and heliospheric imager 2 on board stereo. So another most important point is that in contrast to SOHO observations, this stereo spacecraft A and B are the twin spacecraft, and both spacecrafts are moving in the Earth's orbit. One is leading the Earth and one is trailing the Earth. Stereo A is leading ahead of the Earth's orbit, and while stereo B is behind the Earth's orbit. So, and the separation between them are increasing every year. So we have a multi-point observation. From two perspectives we can image a CME, and also the continuous observation. The CME can be observed. We can see in the bottom panel that any CME can be looked along the sun earth line, and we can have its global dynamics. The one example of perspective observation is given for the event of 3rd April 2010. We can see that the same structure, when imaged from near Earth, it appears as a halo structure around the sun. But when it is observed from stereo A or stereo B, shown in the right and left panel in the corner, we can see that a CME appears like a different, like loop-like structure. So we can see that viewpoints are very important, and CME can appear very differently from different viewpoints, and therefore multi-viewpoint observations are important. And using this multi-viewpoint observation, one need to do a 3D reconstruction to know the 3D picture of a CME. So we can, as I highlighted before, that CME can be tracked using stereo observations, and this mission is very powerful as it has observed few hundreds of CME, and now we have enough data to look the CME picture in more detail, and the forces acting on it, how they moves, when they arrive at the Earth, what is their speed, with that speed, how they perturb the Earth's magnetosphere. So these things can be studied. As I described before, that one set of observation is in situ observations. So earlier we had only one set of in situ observations close to the Earth. So they gave only the local picture, local sampling of the CME material. So if we have multi-viewpoint, we can see that the parameter same CME has been sampled at A, stereo A, Earth, and stereo B. And we see that the magnetic field density and thermal speed and like several parameters of the CME material is very different at these three different locations. And this highlights that even a very small separation, the separation between A and B was only 20 degrees for this event. And we can see that even with this small separation, the sample plasma parameter is very different. And it highlights that the inhomogeneity in the CME material. And such inhomogeneity should be studied, how it arises and how they evolve during its propagation between sun and earth. And therefore multi-point stereo observations or any in situ observations or remote observations is required. When CME material evolves, so we can see that the same CME is sampled at Mercury by an instrument called MESSENGER, then on the Venus by a Venus Express, and then on Earth by the WIND spacecraft. So we can see the three plot in the left panel, left side of my slide, and we see that the CME magnetic field sampled again at different distance from the sun is different. So it again highlights that the radial, when CME moves in radial direction, actually plasma parameters changes. And therefore physics need to be understood what are the physics causing this change in the velocity, temperature due to expansion, and whether this expansion is adiabatic or whether this is an isothermal expansion. So these things can be studied if we have observations at different points in the heliosphere. These points may be different in longitude and also in latitude, also at different distance. So such things should be studied properly. And this is one area of research in which many people are working, because we have several missions like Solar Orbiter, Parker Solar Probe from NASA. So the recent missions are also trying to understand the CME picture from different viewpoints. In my PhD work, actually, I am trying to just show one work which I have done in my PhD. So in this due to the series of missions we have different reconstruction technique was developed due to different authors. And this techniques is like, they measure CME in different way. Like some believe that CME is a, some methods assume that CME is a spherical structure attached to the sun, like in this plot we can see. And some methods believe that CME is a spherical ball detached from the sun and moving in the heliosphere. So depending on our assumption, we can see that from the both viewpoint of stereo, which part of CME is being observed. And therefore, since there are different series of methods, in my study, I try to assess the performance of these methods, and I found actually that stereoscopic methods are more accurate than single spacecraft methods. When I say stereoscopic method, it means that using the data from multiple viewpoints of the same CME is important to do 3D reconstruction, to know their true speed, true global picture. And this was one highlight that stereoscopic observations should be used to know the actual CME structure. To predict the CME arrival time at the Earth, in my study, I took several cases of CME. In this study, 8 CMEs during 2008 to 2010 were studied. And when I studied this CME, I used the method of geometric triangulation. I tried to observe the same point of the CME from the two viewpoints and then did the 3D reconstruction. And we can see the estimated profile of the distance, direction, and velocity is shown in the right side of the figure, right panel of the figure. And we see that there is a change in the direction and velocity. And this highlights that if we use only CME kinematics up to some distance away from the sun, we may be unable to predict its accurate arrival at the Earth. Another method which I use, that sometimes it is difficult to track a CME in the observations, right side observation, much away from the sun. So in that case, we can use a model called drag-based model. And this model is based on the fact that when CME is much away from the sun, the dominant force which acts on a CME is the drag force. And drag force is the interaction, like a frictional interaction between the solar wind medium and then CME. So if we know the velocity of CME and solar wind, we can try to know the drag acceleration depending on the proportional constant between drag acceleration and difference in the velocity, and that is gamma in our model. And that gamma will also depend on the area of the CME. Wider CME may interact heavily with the solar wind, and there would be a strong drag on the CME. And then also it depends on the how wide is the CME, what is the mass of the CME in that volume. And then, so point is that if we study the drag-based model, even if we don't track a CME much away from the sun, we can try to use this model and then predict its arrival at the Earth. So depending on this tracking of CME in the image and then its arrival time, what I want to highlight that when we use the kinematics from the remote observation and use the drag-based model, the predicted arrival at 1 AU is accurate. We can see that the error is very less, up to 3 to 8 hours. But if we use only core 2 observations, core 2 means the near sun observations, we can see that the error in predicted arrival time is very large, even it goes up to 46 hours. So this error is estimated based on the comparison between the predicted arrival of the CME at the Earth and one measured from in situ observations in the Earth, from the in situ spacecraft at the Earth. So we have the actual observations of the CME from the observations, and then we have the predicted arrival time from the observations, remote observations are from the model. And if we compare the in situ observations from the predicted arrival time, we can know the error. So the point here, what I want to highlight, that if we use the kinematics of CME very close to the sun, core 2 means within 15 solar radii, up to 15 solar radii. So if we use even the kinematics up to 15 solar radii and use this as a constant speed to propagate the CME up to Earth, the arrival in the error in the arrival time would be very large. So the point here is the what are the forces that can lead to such error. One is the, obviously I highlighted the interaction between solar wind and CME, the drag force between solar wind and CME. Another case is the CME-CME interaction. It is possible that one CME is propagating in the solar wind, and then from the back, following CME can come and hit the preceding CME. If such interaction happens, the dynamics of both the CME will change. And due to such collision, any kinematics estimated before the collision would not help us to predict its arrival at the Earth. So it means that post-collision kinematics is very important. Once we study the CME-CME interaction, it would also be interesting to study how a shock can interact with the CME. Shock means when a CME is fast enough, it drives a shock ahead of it, and this shock can catch a preceding CME structure and compress it. So it is important to understand how a shock from the following CME can interact with the preceding CME and what will be its effects on the plasma parameter of the preceding structure. It is also important that if one CME arrives at the Earth, it has produced geomagnetic storm. So if CME-CME interaction takes place and whether this interacting structure arrives at the Earth, they lead to what type of perturbation in the magnetosphere. And whether after the interaction, this CME remains as a separate structure, or are still after interaction, they are two separate distinct blobs of the gases or plasma. So such things need to be studied, taking several cases of the CME. To answer these questions, series of study has been done already using the observations of white light, radio observations. In my study, what I tried to do, I took a case study of CME of 2011 February. And in this case, there were 3 CME from the sun, one after another. And one on 13th, one on 14th, and one on 15th. And we see that the CME of 15th February is faster than the CME of 14th February. We try to do some 3D reconstruction, actual propagation direction and speed, and we found that the interaction may happen for the CME2 and CME3. Like here, we could actually track the interaction of 2 CME in the image, heliospheric imager, Hi1 and Hi2 onboard stereo. And we see that the following CME has already almost catch the preceding structure. We try to estimate the mass of the CME as to know any collision picture. We actually did the collision picture analysis like coefficient of restitution to know that whether such collisions can be classified as a elastic, inelastic, or super elastic like things. So to do this, we try to estimate its velocity, pressure, magnetic field, expansion. So what we find that when the 2 CME are 14th, we can see the kinematics of this CME, and we see that after the collision, if you see the red and black curve in the kinematics plot, distance, direction, and speed, we see that when the collision begins, the direction of CME is changed. So there seems to be a deflection, and although it can also be due to error in our methods to estimate the direction, but it is more obvious that there is a collision when we see the speed. The speed of the preceding CME increases and the speed of the following CME decreases, and it clearly suggests for a exchange of dynamics between the CME2 and CME3. We try to look the thermal expansion speed of the CME and then try to estimate how they affect the after what is the speed in post-collision phase and pre-collision phase. And when we estimate the coefficient of restitution, it was 1.65, and it suggests that super elastic collision, some energy has been generated during the collision. And it is surprising because it is not like very much expected, and this made us to take another case of the CME, and we have taken several cases. But before I go to several cases, what I want to highlight that when these three CME of 13th, 14th, and 15th February arrive at the Earth, in fact, they could be observed as three separate structures, R1, R2, and R3. And we see that between R1 and R2, there is a strong decrease in magnetic field. And if you see the temperature, we also see the increase in temperature, velocity. So the point is that due to interaction of CME, there is a possibility that reconnection may happen and magnetic energy may be converted into the thermal energy as seen in the rise in temperature. And such interacting CMEs when arrive at the Earth, we can see the bottom panel that CMH index rises, and it shows that the perturbation, there is a rise in the Earth's horizontal component of magnetic field. And such perturbation need to be accounted when such CME arrives to know that what are the disturbances they are causing. We took another case of 2012, 9 and 10. In this case also we see that one CME has been, like the trailing edge of one CME is caught by a following CME. And when we actually did the coefficient of restitution study for this case, we find that this collision is perfectly inelastic because the coefficient of restitution was 0. And I will not go into detail how this coefficient of restitution was calculated. We did not use the simple formula of post-collision ratio of post-collision speed and pre-collision speed. We did a rigorous study for this. I will highlight that if someone is interested. When this CME arrives at the Earth, we again see that these two CME is separated, but between this separation, there is an interaction region between CME1 and CME2. And the right panel of the figure suggests that when the interaction region arrives at the Earth, we see that there is a strong perturbation in the ionospheric field. And then also there is a enhancement in the ring current, that is like a horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field is like decreased, shown in terms of CMH index. And at the bottom panel, I have shown the AL index, that is the auroral electrojet, like the substorms. So we can again see that when such interacting structure arrives at the Earth, it gives rise to strong major geomagnetic activity. And if you see that preceding CME, it has a very high temperature. If you see the temperature plot in the left panel of the figure. So it suggests that when a shock from a following CME, CME2 actually has completely traveled through CME1 plasma, and it has compressed it significantly. And that's why there is no sign of expansion. If you see the velocity, it is almost constant. If it means that there is no sign of expansion in the preceding CME. And therefore, the interaction between CME should also take into account the CME shock interaction. And therefore, we need to take some model to see how this MHD shock actually compress the preceding CME and prohibits the expansion of the preceding expanding plasma blobs. And many efforts are being done in this direction from both theoretical and observational perspective to see whether we can model the propagation of shock and interaction of shock and CME. And when they arrive at the Earth, how they actually perturb the magnetosphere of the Earth. So then if I go to next slide, oh, I cannot move my slide. Okay. Actually, I took the several cases of the CME, and what we see here, actually this study is done in 3D. So I wanted to highlight that we did not take one part of a CME and try to interact. We took a global picture of a CME. We tried to estimate its like approaching speed, expansion speed, collision duration, for how long these two CMEs are in contact. And based on this, what we find that if you see the right panel, we find that the low approaching speed and higher expansion speed of the following CME than the preceding one, and the longer duration of collision phase actually favors for a super elastic collision. So it means that for those events we have E, the value of E close to 1 or more than 1, when we have when the two CME come slowly and collide. And then the expansion of the following CME is much stronger, much larger than the preceding one. Or the two CMEs remain in contact for a long time. Then only they give rise to super elastic or elastic collision. Otherwise, the collision is very inelastic. The inelastic means the two CME may fuse together and become a single structure. Then okay, why I cannot move? Oh. So based on this, what I want to highlight that use of 3D speed in core 2 field of view may not be sufficient for arrival time estimation, at least for the fast and decelerating CMEs. Because if a CME decelerates beyond core 2 field of view, near sun observations cannot help. And if CME interaction takes place, the near sun observations may not help us to predict the accurately the arrival time of CME. And therefore, we need to track a CME longer, much away from the sun, at least where the interaction takes place. And the post-collision kinematics should be used for arrival time prediction, and then the space weather forecasting. My study also highlighted that drag-based model actually improved the arrival time prediction, and therefore it is like result from my study that role of drag forces is effective much away from the sun. Such study has also been done by several people, and they have come to this conclusion that drag force are dominant at least few tens of solar radii away from the sun. Heliospheric and geomagnetic consequences of interacting CMEs are important because when such interaction takes place, the plasma parameters which are responsible for geomagnetic perturbations are enhanced, like the VG and velocity. So when this enhanced plasma parameters comes to Earth's magnetosphere, they actually give rise to strong geomagnetic storms. And post-interaction kinematics of CMEs are very important. Collision of CMEs have effect on the plasma and magnetic parameters of both the CMEs, and therefore, before the collision, the CME parameters it is no longer valid or even the same when the CME arrives at the Earth, and therefore, it is very important to model how this interaction takes place, how this interaction gives rise to different plasma parameters of the CMEs. And therefore, tracking of different features of CMEs in the outer corona is necessary for understanding their evolution and interaction in the heliosphere. It also helps in identification and association of three-part structure of CME. The limitation and advantage of various reconstruction techniques, as I have highlighted before, that there are several reconstruction methods for estimating the global picture of CME using multiple viewpoints. So different reconstruction methods come to a different speed, structure, direction of the CME. So there is slightly different from different methods. So one need to know which methods should be used for what type of CMEs. And one conclusion from my study is it is always better to use multiple viewpoints, stereoscopic methods, and specific geometry of the CME should be taken into account during propagation, making any arrival time prediction or space weather forecasting at the Earth. So I thank you everyone for listening.